Hi everybody, my name is Tom Sappington, and when I was in college there was this really important guy who graduated. He was our alma mater. You know, he had went to the college, he left. When he went into the world, he got into business. He became one of these guys that took several companies public, made tons of money, had an incredible lifestyle, and he was returning to our college to share his success on time management. And now me, I was ambitious. I was like, okay, I'm the first one in the auditorium. I asked, is he right-handed, left-handed? I wanted to get in the front row. I really wanted to learn what his goals were, what I needed to learn in order to be successful like he was. Well, when he first showed up, they introduced him. They said, here's this big shot. Here he comes up and he stands in front of the room and he's behind a podium. He didn't say a word. He didn't introduce himself again. He didn't talk about his acumen. He just simply reached down behind his podium and set out this huge jar, you know, like the kind you get at Sam's that you need a forklift to pick up, right? And it came to a little small opening where there was a little thin metal lid, and he unscrewed the lid and he set it to the side, and he looked at the crowd. He just looked from left to right and everybody, and I'm thinking, wow, what's this going to be? And he reached down behind the podium again and he pulls up a bucket, a galvanized bucket like you'd get at any hardware store, and he set it down. And out of that bucket he started pulling these rocks. They were about the size of softballs. And he kept sticking them into the jar gently because, you know, they were hard and the jar was glass. And he was, you know, structuring them to where they filled this jar up, right? But the key was, about 1/3 the way up, he took a couple of them and moved them around so that he could get more in there. And as he got it, then the last rock was just even with the lid, maybe just a little bit below the surface. And he looked at the crowd and everybody said, what's going on? You know, what's he doing? And the first thing he said was, is this jar full? And everybody's like, well, yeah, you're not going to get another rock in there. You know, that's huge. You know, how are you going to do that? And then he reached down behind the podium and he pulled out yet another galvanized bucket of smooth pebbles. And he started pouring those pebbles in that jar. And they were just cascading down the rock, and some were falling on the table, and they were getting about halfway full. And he set the bucket down and he started shaking it to where they all settled. Then he started pouring more and more and more until they were level with the top of that jar. And he looked into the room and he said, is this jar full? And everybody's like, some are saying yeah, and some are like, well, I don't know, and others were being quiet, right? He reached down, yeah, and pulled out yet another jar, a bucket, a galvanized bucket of sand. He started pouring that sand in there, and it just started filling up from the bottom and going up and up and up. And when it got to the top, he looked at everybody and goes, is this jar full? And some people are yelling out. Most people were just quiet. I'm like, wow, what's going on here? He reaches down, and the last thing he pulls out from behind the podium was a pitcher of water, and he started pouring the water in. And you know, that whole pitcher of water filled up the voids inside that jar. And you know, I was sitting in the front row and I could notice even that little bit of crowning, that when you fill a water glass up all the way you can see it, like if you dropped a penny on it, it would spill over. He got it that full. But at this point, he says to the crowd, is this jar full? And everybody said, yes, it is. It's so full, you can't believe it. Anything's going to make it over full. He said, well, what's the lesson? And, you know, people are saying, well, if you work really hard, you can get a lot in there. And, you know, as many people were in the room, there was as many different answers. He said, if I didn't put the big things in first, they weren't going to fit. So what you got to realize by setting your goals, by prioritizing your life, is you got more than enough time to be successful. But if you need to put the most important things in your life in first, and if you need to, you can move them to the left or the right, but you can't ever take them out. But if you don't put them in, your neighbor, your boss, your kids, their activities, bowling, everything's going to start pushing your calendar full. When you got something important, there's no room for it. It's your responsibility to put the most important things in your calendar and make sure you might be able to move them to the left or to the right, but you can never take them out if they're the important things.